Hello, welcome to episode 15. That was quite a hello, I think. Start again. Hello, welcome to episode 15 of the Eldenwood Craft podcast. My name's Emma and this is my podcast all about my crafty life. If you have visited before, thank you ever so much for coming back. It's very much appreciated. And if this is your first time watching, big hello to you. I hope you enjoy what I'm going to be talking about, and thank you for coming along. Right, got everything laid out before me. I've got quite a lot to get through today. The podcast will follow the usual format. I've got some finished objects. I've got a couple of finished objects today. I have some works in progress. Got 3 or 4 to show you. We'll see how time goes. Definitely 3, maybe 4. And then I've got my notes and queries section at the end with a prize winner announcement and a couple of giveaways, very excitingly. The only other thing to tell you before we get stuck into the meat of the podcast is where you can find me, and I will just put all the information in the down bar below. I'm trying to avoid telling you all my online places. If you have a look at my website eldenwoodcraft.co.uk, then links to all the important places will be there, like Instagram and Ravelry and my Etsy shop, and show notes. That's what I was trying to think of. Show notes will be in the down bar below. I have been putting them on Ravelry. I don't know if anyone uses the show notes in Ravelry. If you do, if you want me to keep putting them there, please let me know. If I don't hear from anyone and if no one's interested, then I will not put them in Ravelry. Right, let's get started. I'm just going to go straight into some finished objects. First are sat here ready and waiting on sock blockers. A bit of a giveaway there as to what they are. So, gosh, was it February time, I think, I was approached by one of my favourite yarn dyers asking, very excitingly, if I would be willing to test knit her first design, her first pattern design. Of course, I said yes, I would love to. The designer very kindly sent us a copy of the pattern and a beautiful skein of yarn. So she had dyed up some yarn specifically for this pattern, was sent a most appropriate skein, as you will see in a minute. Knit the pattern, beautiful pattern, absolutely love them. I've got the finished items here, so let me show you them. Here they are. These are the Silver Street socks. I have got 2. They are a pattern by Helen of Yan Tan Tetherer Yarns. And this is what is left of the yarn. There's 36 grams left there. I've just weighed that. So you can get a really decent pair of socks out of 100 grams skein of yarn. So this yarn is, I'm right by a window, so it's blowing out a little bit, but it's a fairly accurate representation. It's a little grayer in real life. But this is Helen's Imprim Beige. She dyed up a range of tonals for the sock pattern, which I think worked beautifully. This is the colour Thimble. It's a very sort of grey blue. So let me tell you about the sock. What can I tell you? So it looks really complicated. That was my first thought when the sock, when the pattern arrived and pictures of what the stitch pattern was. I thought, oh goodness, that looks really complex. I can do cables. I don't particularly enjoy doing cables, but I thought, oh, maybe I've got myself in a little bit too deep. But then when I read through the pattern, actually there are no cables involved in this whatsoever. It's a really easy and memorable stitch pattern. Let me show you. I love this bit down here. So it's really, as I said, it's a really memorable stitch pattern, and after the first set of pattern repeats I found actually that I didn't even need the pattern. So it's a typical construction. It's a 2x2 rib. I can't remember how many rows down here, but it's a sort of fairly standard sock length, heel flap and gusset, and then pattern along the top to toe. The tonality, I think is the word, along here is just beautiful. I love it. I would very happily knit a jumper in this yarn. It's beautiful. Highly recommend catching a skein if you can. She's got some beautiful colours. There's some corals and greens and blues and purples. They are really, 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 really lovely skeins. There are a number of us that test knit the pattern, and I know that everyone enjoyed knitting it. And they all knit, we all knit, I think there are about 6 of us, 5 or 6 of us. We all knit the pattern in a different colourway that Helen had dyed up. So you'll get a full set of socks if you go and look at Helen's Ravelry page or the pattern page. So that's the Silver Street socks. They were named after a walk, a little lane in the village where Helen lives. And she's put some pictures of her walks down that lane on Instagram. So it's well worth having a look at that. I'm so pleased with these. I haven't worn them yet. I've been saving them for you. So now I will be able to wear them. So that's the Silver Street socks. I'm just going to swap the socks over. Whoops. Something nearly went there, but not quite. Managed to save it. So I've got another pair of socks to show you. Let me pop them on the sock blockers like a good podcaster should. Can you tell that I'm filling? That's one done. I realise this isn't the most interesting part of the podcast. I apologise. Right, sock number 2, pair of socks number 2. I love these. They are blowing out a little bit. They are just a pair of vanilla socks. Let's show you on that side. No. They are knit out of Bergere de France Gumi 50 in the Imprim Beige colourway. I love this yarn. It's beautiful neutral colour with these pops of pink, which, as you know, isn't usually, here we go, that's, as you know, pink isn't usually my colour, but yeah, I love them in this. There's not much to say about the sock, except I've just seen a drop stitch. Can you see here? Oh my goodness. How did I miss that? I need a stitch marker. I need a... Oh dear. Right, I'm just going to rescue this before it gets any worse. Stitch rescued. Right. I was trying to think while I was doing that, how on earth could I have missed, dropped a stitch up there and then picked it up again? But actually, there's a story behind these socks. So, this sock I knit, just looking at my pattern notes, I knit on a 2mm sock, 2mm needle, and knit it toe down. So it's just another 2x2 rib, a similar length leg to the Silver Street socks, heel flap and gusset, and a standard wedge toe. Just having a moment. The second sock, for some reason, I thought I would try a toe-up sock. So I used Nathan Taylor Sockmatician's toe-up sock recipe, and I knit these magic loop. I think, did I? Let me just double check that. Yes, I did, and in fact I've put in my pattern notes that I enjoyed the magic loop process, which surprised me. And that will explain something in one of my whips. So yeah, so this worked really well, toe up, but that will explain how I managed to drop a stitch up here, and I must have dropped it during the cast off process, possibly, I don't know. Anyway, I will rectify that. So these are Imprim Beige, Bergere de France vanilla socks. Lovely pattern. I would highly recommend the yarn. It's a nice rusticy feel pattern sock if you don't know the yarn. And I'd very happily knit another pair of those. I'm not mad keen on all the Gumi 50 colourways. I've knit one pair of those, one pair of socks out of the Gumi 50 yarn before. There's another colourway, I think it's a sort of, I've got green and yellow and grey in my head, so I might give that a go at some point. Put those away. Yeah, so that's all my finished objects. Right, on to works in progress. So the first work in progress to show you, we might as well keep along the sock theme. It's being kept in my fabulous Little Grey Girl project bag. I love this. Little Grey Girl, if you don't know them, is a British based, or Jem is a British based sewist of these amazing pyramid project bags. If you can get your hands on one, I highly recommend it. On the outside is this fabulous Nitrovert pin. Now, I haven't joined the pin badge bandwagon. They're not really my thing. But when Kelly of Celtic Cast On got in touch with me and told me about a new business that Kelly and Mars of Hey Brown Berry were setting up, and she asked me if I'd like to road test one of these pins. I absolutely said yes, because that is just perfect for me. I am an introvert. I did my, if you know the Myers-Briggs sort of personality test thing that companies use, I was on a course not long ago and we had to do the Myers-Briggs ahead of the course, and I came out as a, I was almost at the 100% on the introvert scale, which didn't surprise me at all, and will not surprise those of you who know me. But I get a lot of energy from knitting, so this Nitrovert pin is just perfect for me. It's a fabulous quality. I really like it. I'm not going to be going mad for other pins, but this one will follow me around, definitely. I love it. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about Kelly and Mars's joint venture in a little while, so stay tuned for some exciting news there. Right, onto the sock. Let me just get it out of my bag. So this is a sock. I don't have a copy of the pattern with me, I will put a copy, I'll put a picture of the what the pattern is on the screen. It's the Year's End sock by Veera Valimaki. As soon as I saw it on Instagram when she was releasing it, I knew that that was the next sock to go on my needles. I'm knitting it out of, oh, blowout. This might be quite difficult to show you. I don't know how to get this. Goodness me, that's awful. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but this is just like I'm holding the sun up. It's a big ball of light. I don't, oh, there we go, that's a bit better. Okay, I'm going to hold it in front of my face. So this is Norah George Yarns. Hold it the right way around. It's her Snowdrop colourway, and it was the January colourway for the Flower Power Fund. I've mentioned that on a previous podcast. So this is Tracy's BFL sock base. It's an 80/20 superwash BFL 20% nylon, 365 meters and 100 grams. It's got a lovely, don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it's got a lovely high twist. You can kind of see it, can't you? Lovely high twist, and this is how it knits up. I'm just looking for my sock blockers. Let me swap over because I have got a half finished object. Now this is probably going to blow out just like the yarn did, so I'm going to hold it close to the camera, and that's the sock. Now these were knit toe up, so it's quite fortuitous that I had already accustomed myself to the toe up process in my Bergere de France vanilla sock. And I knit these on, well, I knit the first half of the sock, the foot, on magic loop, and I got really frustrated with it because, might not show so well here, but I was, oh yeah, you can see there, I got horrible ladders there, really unhappy with it. And then at this point where you start to increase for the gusset, I switched to knitting on 2 circular needles, just because why not? And actually that worked really well. And so further up the sock, if we can see this, you can see the line where the 2 circulars met, but actually there's no ladder, and that will definitely block out once the socks are soaked and blocked. So the pattern itself is absolutely lovely. It's a very simple repeated eyelet pattern, but it's not just eyelets. There are some the placement of the decreased stitches creates a nice texture on the pattern rows. The needles I was using are these. So I haven't started my second sock yet. And as you can see, I'm using 2 different needles. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I don't know if that's creating a gauge that's off, or I don't know. But I use these 2.25 Chiao, and I haven't got the what do you call it? The packet, the needle packet. But these are Chiao Gu, I think they're Chiao Gu lace. might be called. And the other needle I'm using are these higher stainless steel. They're not the higher sharps. I actually really like these. The smoothness of the needle, it's really silky, and I love the way that the yarn glides off those as compared to these. So I might get myself some more of the higher stainless steel needles to have a play about with. And I actually quite like using 2 circular needles. I thought it would be a bit of a faff having all those needles flying about, but actually I don't mind. It's very different to knitting on the short circular needles that I had been using in my last few socks, but you get used to it very quickly. And yeah, I think I'll knit my next pair of socks using 2 circulars. It mixes things up a little bit, doesn't it? Keeps your knitting interesting. So yeah, I think that's all there is to say about these. I haven't tried this on yet, so I don't know what the fit is like. One thing that I did do in the leg section, it does ask for the pattern to go all the way around the leg, but I was quite keen to see or to show off the beautiful speckling that Tracy had managed to get in her yarn, so I just kept it on the front of the foot. It's beautiful. It's really I don't know how you yarn dyers do it to get all those different colours just in those spots in the yarn. It's really clever. It's magic. Right, so that's finished work in progress number 1. Work in progress number 2 in my beautiful new Alex Collins drawstring bag. I adore this. I've been longing for one of Alex's project bags for years almost, it feels like. I don't know why I hadn't bought one before. They're fantastic quality. I will put a link to her shop in the show notes. She is another very clever person. She screen prints the fabric herself, which I think is just wonderful. So this pattern, and again I don't have the pattern with me, so I'll put a picture on screen, but this is one of my Make 9 patterns, and there's not a lot to show you, but you can probably guess that it's a hat. It's very scrunched up on the needles. It's the Simple Beret by Hannah Fettig. I'll pop a picture of the finished item on screen so you can see what we're aiming for. I am knitting it out of, I've got the ball band, a yarn that has been doing the rounds quite a lot recently, the Rerum Natura, the Gilleat or Gilleat, I don't know, I've heard it pronounced different ways. It's a French yarn. I'm trying to work out whether or not I can translate anything on here. So this is the yarn. It's beautiful. It's very, it feels very floofy. I think that's a word that Kay from Bakery Bears uses, isn't it? It's a floofy yarn, I think. It's really, really softly, rusticy, oomphy. I love it. It says on here that it's, I think it's a blend of 3 different yarns. So Maco Merino from the Southern Alps, Merino Dalle from Provence, and Merino Noir Petra from Portugal, I think. I don't know if you can see that. You may or may not be able to read that. Made in France. it's 250 meters to 100 grams. Now I am not 100% sure what weight that makes it, but I think it's somewhere around a DK, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong, please do. But yeah, it's a gorgeous yarn to knit with. When I first saw it, I thought it might be a little bit on the scratchy side, but not at all. I am very sensitive to prickles. I feel them in a lot of things, possibly even when there aren't prickles there. But that doesn't bother me at all. So it's just going to be a really nice, simple beret in this beautiful natural colour. There's not a lot to tell you about it, really. I'm knitting them. Needle I'm using is the Knit Pro Nova 4.5mm at the moment. I have got another one, a smaller needle in my bag, so at some point I'm guessing I'm going to have to switch over to smaller needles. Yarn down. I knew I wouldn't let you down. Always drop something. So yeah, so that's my hat. The stitch marker that I'm using, if that's going to just about see it there, that's a fabulous stitch marker from Cheryl of Chapelview. Oh, sorry, I can't remember. Chapelview Crafts. I'll put the name on the screen. She does the most amazing stitch markers and progress keepers. This is in the shape of, you won't be able to see it very well. It's did my camera just wobble there? It looked like it did. Anyway, apologies. Let me get back on track. So it's a stitch marker in the shape of a piece of shortbread, and it came in a tin with 6 or 7 pieces of shortbread. It's lovely. It made me want to go out and buy some shortbread, and I think I possibly did when it arrived. Right. Move that over there. On to the next work in progress. I apologise for the rambles. It's been a little while again since my last podcast, and I am obviously out of practice. So apologies. Life just got in the way. Right. Work in progress number 3. This is another of my Make 9s. It's a jumper. It is being knit out of Drop Snored. In fact, I think in my last podcast I showed you the yarns that I was thinking of using. It was a choice between this light beige and a light grey, so I opted for the light beige. Sometimes I think I wish I had chosen the grey, but hey, I like this. So it's Drop Snored. It's a really soft alpaca, polyamide and wool mix. It's cheap as chips, which sometimes does make me wonder about why it's quite so cheap. But I've seen lots of people that I admire and respect using it, so I guess it can't be that bad. But yeah, it is a really soft yarn. I was worried again about the alpaca content. It's a 45% alpaca content, and I did think that would trouble my skin, but not at all. Excuse me. So what I'm knitting with it is the Locatelli V-neck Boxy, and if I can sort out my needles, I've got 2 sets of needles on the go. Well, one holding some stitches and another one on the go. And that's it. It's not very impressive, I know. I'm doing the shoulders at the moment. So what I have knit is a long bit at the back. Ooh, look at that! This is my husband's jumper. He developed a hole in the elbow, as you can see, and I seem to be wearing it. I think it was probably given to me to see if I could patch it up, and that was quite a while ago, and I haven't done it, so I'm just wearing it. Anyway, so what I am knitting, I'm knitting the, or I have, you start at the back of the shoulders and the back, and you knit a band there, and then you start on the shoulder and the front. So I have knit one side, and I'm currently knitting the other side in the V-neck, and then very soon I think they're going to join up, and then I carry on just knitting down, and then you knit the sleeves. Obviously I think most of you will know Joji's Boxy. This is just the V-neck version of it. There's not a huge amount to tell you about it. It's not my neatest knit. There are some mistakes in this ribbed panel. You can see there, I don't know. I don't think it's perfect, but I don't really mind. It's going to be up here. I don't think it's going to be terribly noticeable. And if it is, then it will just be a jumper that's worn in the house. I think I had similar problems on this side. It's a fine knit. It's a nice straightforward knit. I don't think there's a lot to tell you about it. It hasn't taken me too long to get to this stage, and I think once I've got through all the backwards and forwards of the stocking stitch and managed to join in the round, then I think for me knitting a large swathe of fabric in the round plain stocking stitch, it's going to go fairly quickly. I quite like that sort of knitting. Is there anything else to tell you about that? Needles, oh actually let me tell you about my needles. The needles I'm using are Knit Pro Zings, 3.5mm needles. I have got the stitches along the back on hold on this needle, and the stitches that I'm working along on the front also on a 3.5 on another one. Can you spot the difference? Very obviously. These are both Knit Pro Zings, both 3.5mm needles, but they are such glaringly different colours. I'm not quite sure why that would be. Has anyone else noticed that? Have I just got a duff pair of needles somewhere? I don't know. Anyway, that's my V-neck Boxy. How are we doing for time? Right, it's 30 odd minutes, so I think I'm going to leave out my carré shawl. I have shown you that before. I've not made a huge amount of progress on it, but I did just pick it up this morning before I started recording, and I think I might have got the bug for it again, so I suspect I will show that to you in episode 16. On to notes and queries. So the first thing to talk about is the Make 9 Makealong. So I launched this at the beginning of 2018, and it's based around the 3x3 grid of things that you would like to make during 2018. The response to it was fabulous, thank you ever so much. There has been a lot of chatter in the chatter thread, and you've all been encouraging yourselves fantastically and sharing progress on your makes. I haven't been in there as much as I would like to, and I felt rather guilty about it. Work and family life has just been unexpectedly busy the last 2 or 3 months, so apologies for not having joined in all the chatter. I'm going to try and rectify that going forward. But I did say at the outset that we would have a prize draw for each quarter during 2018 for any and eligible entries for the prize draw would be any finished objects that have been entered into the finished object thread during the previous quarter. So I have drawn for the January, February, March prize. I'm just going to pull up the winner on my iPad so I don't forget. We've had some brilliant prizes in, thank you ever so much. I have got them here. I think I'll show you them today, and that might spur you on to keep making during the next quarter. So let me show you the prizes that I'm not giving away today, and then I will announce the winner. So first off, very excitingly, is this rather stunning piece of work. This bag was very kindly donated to us by Sherry, who is Sherry Iris on Instagram, and she has a podcast as well. And Sherry is known for her fabulous stitching. Look at that. I'm just in awe of that. It's beautiful. What I particularly love are these little lavender seeds that are floating away in the wind. So this is a beautiful, Sherry called it a notions pouch. I reckon you could get a pair of socks in there. I haven't tried it, but I reckon you could easily fit a 50-gram ball and a pair of needles in there. There are some other little goodies in here. I will show you this beautiful lavender sachet that Sherry has also stitched. This pink fabric is, I think it must be a linen fabric. It's beautifully soft, and I think, Sherry's added some wadding or something in there. It's just gorgeous. And there are another couple of little goodies in there that I will leave as a surprise. So that will be a prize for the future. Another bag that I have had is this. I was very excited when this came through. This is from Teresa of Tea and Toast. You can see her little label there. And we go from the small but beautifully formed of Sherry's bag to a lovely shawl size bag here from Teresa. It's gorgeous. The fabric again very different, but it's a sturdier weight canvas. I love that. And Teresa very kindly sent two, one for you, and she said I could keep one as well, and I ummed and ahed and ummed and ahed and decided that yes, actually, decided that I would keep one for myself. So thank you ever so much, Teresa. What just dropped out of one of those bags was a little tin of stitch markers as well that Teresa has made. I'm assuming you made them, Teresa. So yeah, that's a lovely, lovely bag. So that will be offered up later in the year as well. We've had some pattern prizes. I've already given away Luli's Luli's Owls collection set. Ruth from Knitterarium has very kindly offered us a pattern from a collection that she's going to be releasing later in the year, so we'll talk about that nearer the time. Catherine from Bed of Roses, who makes the most beautiful project bags, has incredibly generously offered a $50 gift voucher to you as one of the winners. So that's a $50 gift voucher for her Etsy shop. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Catherine. And she offered me one as well. I'm so excited. So we'll be offering that up. I think that will be a prize for when we draw in July. So go and have a look at Catherine's Etsy shop and start eyeing up the bag that you fancy. She does stitch markers and things as well, and DPN cozies and all sorts of things. She chooses the most fabulous, fun and interesting fabrics, so highly recommend a look at that. Right, one of the very first prizes that came over was some yarn all the way from Canada, and it's from Old Oak Yarns, and the dyer is Adrienne, and there's her There's her tag, Old Oak Yarns, and look at that. Isn't that stunning? It's showing up slightly brighter on screen than it is in real life. It's a little bit more muted than the screen would suggest. But it's lovely. I really like that. Thank you, Adrienne. And she has also offered, where did I put them? Here we go. Some bulb pins, which will go along with that. So that will be a fabulous prize later in the year. And then Miranda of by Miranda Mae has also offered us some yarn. And look at that. I love that. That's this is by Miranda Mae, and this is her Nordic Forest colourway, and you couldn't get a better name for that yarn, could you? It's beautiful. So this is an 85-15 merino nylon. Miranda is a relatively new to the scene yarn dyer, and she will go places with yarn like that. It's lovely. You could make, what was the name of the socks that were doing the rounds just before Christmas last year? They had a pine tree on the leg. They would look brilliant knit in that. I can't remember what they were called, but yeah, they would look wonderful knit in that. Now, so that will be offered up later in the year as well. So that leads me to the prize draw for January, February and March, and the prize that we're offering for you for one lucky winner today is this beautiful bee bag from Annie's Crafty Makes. Thank you, Annie. Lovely tag there, I really like that, and some Tailors of Harrogate tea bags, plus let me just sort this out. You've already seen one yarn by this lady. How about the fact that she offered us 2 yarns? Thank you, Miranda. You can't have a bee bag without some yellow yarn. So that is, excuse me, that is blowing out a little bit in the light of the window. But you can see, I don't know that you can. Let's see if we can fix that. Oh, I hate showing my ugly hands on the screen. Right. Let's see what we can do. That's a bit better, isn't it? A little bit. That's maybe as good as we're going to get. Apologies with the light. Anyway, let me describe it for you. It is a, I would call it a duckling yellow. It's not bright. Ooh. I'm going to take it out of its cardboard cover. I'm going to unhang it, is that a word? And I'm going to show you it in all its glory, because that might be the best way to show you. So bear with me a second. Right. How about this? Look at that. That's better, isn't it? Look at those colours. Wow, I said it earlier, but you yarn dyers are very clever. And that's the other side. So, one lucky winner. In fact, I'm not going to do that on screen. That is going to be a disaster if I try and skein that up. I'm just going to hang it carefully there and skein that up later. So, one lucky winner will win that beautiful yarn by Miranda and the beautiful bee bag from Annie of Annie's Crafty Makes. Both Miranda and Annie have Etsy shops, and I will link to those in the show note. And the winner that I have already drawn, I did that just before I started podcasting. There wasn't if I had tried to do it on screen, it would have just been a disaster. So the winner is drawn from posts 2 to 81. So there were 80 finished objects added to the thread in January, February and March, which is brilliant. Thank you ever so much. And the winner is post number 46, who is Upshore North Girl, who is Christina from Virginia in the United States. So very many congratulations, Christina. I will pop a picture of Christina's finished object on the screen here. And Christina, if you get in touch with me and let me know where to send your prize to, I will get that in the post to you. Thank you ever so much to everybody who has donated a prize already. Really touched with all those donations, thank you. The offer will remain open for the whole of the year. If anyone wants to add to the prize pile, then please do so. I'd love to be able to offer some prizes or some additional prizes outside of the 4 quarterly draws. Right, let me just move that bag over there. Now, in other giveaway news, I've been fortunate enough to have been offered 2 other prizes for you, my lovely podcasting community. So the first one, I'm just going to refer to my show notes again. So Naomi, who is Cozy Cutes Knits and has already offered prizes to the podcast in the past, has very kindly come up trumps again with a new pattern, and she has very recently sent a copy through the magic of Ravelry to me, one for me and one to give away. So thank you ever so much, Naomi. I really like this one. It's a cowl pattern for you. It's called The Only Way Is Up cowl, and I will put a picture on screen for you so you can see how lovely it is. I thought that it would be fun if you could provide a comment in the comments down below, so the episode thread down below, add a comment to tell me something positive that has happened to you recently, and that should all give us a bit of a lift if we read them all. Excuse me. Just looking at my notes to see if there was anything else to say about that. No. So add your comments below. I will pick a winner on Saturday the 12th of May. Will I do that? No, do you know what? I will leave that open until I next record again, and then the day that I record, I'll pick a winner. So that's the Cozy Cute Knits giveaway. The second giveaway I've got for you is related to my Nitrovert pin. So I mentioned that Kelly had got in touch with me, Kelly from Celtic Cast On, to tell me about a new venture that she was setting up with Mars of Hey Brown Berry. If you don't know Kelly and you don't know Mars, first of all, let me tell you that they are both fabulous makers. Excuse me. They both have podcasts. Kelly's is the Celtic Cast On podcast. Excuse me, I need some water. I don't have any. Let's see if I can carry on without it. And Mars has the Hey Brown Berry podcast, and they are friends in real life, and they decided that they were going to get together to with a new venture to celebrate the makers community. And their first offering are a couple of pins. So I've shown you my Nitrovert pin. The other one that they have, and this is being kept on its packaging because the packaging is fabulous and you have to see it. It's this member pin. So it says Maker Community Member Pin. And before we go on, can I just take a moment to look at this packaging, or their branding. It's fabulous, isn't it? I absolutely love that. And there's the back. You can see they are on Instagram. So their company name is Makers Merch. They're on Instagram as @makersmerch, and I will put a full link to their Etsy shop in the show notes. So they've got both this maker community member pin and the Nitrovert pin available in their Etsy shop. And so Kelly sent me the Nitrovert one and the maker one, and she said please give one away to your lovely podcast viewers. So that is what I'm going to do. What you need to do to win this very pin is go to the Ravelry group for the podcast, for my podcast. I will set up a thread in there called something like Makers Merch Pin. No, I won't. I'm going to call it Maker Community Member, and you'll see why. What I would like you to do to be in with a chance of winning this is to put a comment in the Ravelry group highlighting one of your favourite makers or designers or crafters whose work that you admire. Tag them or link them in if you can, and I will draw a winner from that thread. When will I do that? I think I will do that. I will draw just before I podcast again then as well. So what I'll do, I will leave that thread open so we can always go back and look for inspiration that other people have posted there. Does that make sense? So if you ever come across a maker or an Etsy shop or a Ravelry designer or someone whose work that you think we all need to know about, then you can pop a link to them in that post. But over the next few weeks, anyone popping a link in to the thread will be in with a chance of winning this fabulous pin. So thank you ever so much to Mars and to Kelly for A, offering that, and B, coming up with this great idea to celebrate the making community. If you don't follow Makers Merch on Instagram, then I highly recommend you do, because they really are celebrating everything that we do in the knitting and the making world. Right, we're coming towards the end of what I've got to talk about. I have one more thing that I'm going to show you. Well, it's actually two things, but they're linked. So I mentioned in previous podcasts about the Flower Power Fund that Sarah of Sherlock Holmes has been set up, designed to raise funds for Marie Curie here in the UK. I was honoured to be asked if I would be able to provide some bags for the Flower Power Fund, and April was our month. Now I don't have a picture of the bags that I did for April. Sorry, my words are not coming out very well today. They went on sale, gosh, was it Easter weekend? Maybe just after Easter weekend, and they all sold out. But I was selling them as a kit with Kelly from Lay Family Yarn. Probably most of you know Kelly and her yarn. Kelly had decided for April that she wanted to dye some crocus inspired yarn, so I found some beautiful crocus fabric, put together a bag, and we had 16 bag and yarn sets on offer in both our Etsy shops. I've got an itchy nose, sorry. They all sold out very, very quickly. Thank you ever so much to everybody who bought one. Kelly also had individual skeins of yarn available in her Etsy shop. I think we're just about coming to the end of availability of those, but Kelly very kindly sent me a skein for myself, and I just thought I would show it to you. Again, we've got a light issue, but you go. We'll just have to stop having sun, won't we? But you get the idea. So it came with this beautiful creamy, it's kind of a yellow, looking at it in this light, it's probably a yellow with the purples and oranges of the crocus speckled throughout it, and then it also came with this beautiful sort of lavender coloured mini for heels and cuffs. And as well as yarn being offered for the Flower Power Fund, if you've seen any of the branding, and in fact let me show you, because the same lady has done the branding for Kelly. So this is Kelly's ball band. Sam Draws Things has done all the branding for the Flower Power Fund, and what she also does every month, she draws a what am I trying to say? So Sam draws her impression of the flower of the month, and she offers them for sale as a print. And I was very kindly sent a copy of the April print as a thank you for taking part. And can I just show you that? Isn't that beautiful? That is going to take pride of place in my craft room, I think. See the crocus. I just love that. Crocuses are very dear to my heart. I grew up in a town in North Yorkshire called Harrogate, and Harrogate, one of the many wonderful things that Harrogate is famous for is the Stray. And the Stray is an area, it's about 200 acres of parkland that doesn't quite circle the town centre, but it goes a long way around the town centre. And every spring, the Stray is just full of crocuses, and it's one of the most beautiful sights. It always, whenever I see a crocus, that's what I think of. So when Kelly suggested that crocus would be the flower for April, I was absolutely thrilled to be able to do something with those. So yeah, so that's probably everything that I was going to tell you. Let me just check my show notes. I don't have an Etsy shop update for you, other than to say I am in the process of pulling some bags together for my next update, which will probably be around about the end of May. The sheet bags are going, beginning to whiz along actually. I'm about to hit number 50. I think I'm at number 48 at the moment. If you're in the 50s on the waiting list, then it will be your turn very soon. I think that is all that I have got to tell you. If you have enjoyed the what feels like a shambles of a podcast today, and I will make the excuse again that it's because I haven't recorded for a while. I really must try and find more time at the weekends to record, because I really enjoy doing it, and I don't like leaving it for as long as, I think it's about 6 weeks this time. But if you have enjoyed the episode, then please do give me a thumbs up. If you've got any questions about anything that I have talked about today, leave a comment below, or if you've got any comments at all, then just leave it below, or you can contact me through the website. And if you haven't subscribed and you would like to see more episodes or be notified when they come up, then please do subscribe to the podcast. It would be lovely to have you in amongst our merry band of podcasting friends. I'm heading towards the 2,000 subscriber mark. couple of hundred off yet, but the 2,000 mark will come at some point, I hope. I hope I'm not being presumptuous there. So I will have a giveaway when that comes. So rally the troops, get as many people watching and subscribing as you can, and then the giveaway will come around sooner. So I will leave it there. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you all have a happy, knitty, peaceful few weeks, and I will speak to you again soon. Thank you. Bye bye. I'm back again. After I finished recording, I forgot that I wanted to just thank you all for all your advice about my cardigan that I had been very disappointed with in episode 14. If you remember, I had, it was just massive, and I was really unhappy with it, and one of the button bands on one of the cuffs was all wiggly and not very nice at all, and so many of you offered some fantastic advice. What I'm going to do with it is I'm going to redo one of the button bands and the cuff, and then I'm going to re-soak it and just lay it out without stretching it, because I think I must have over-blocked it when I did it first time round. So I will do that later in the year. I've lost a little bit of heart with it, but I will definitely do that, ready for wearing in the autumn. So I just wanted to pop back and say a huge thank you to all of you who left comments and suggestions. They're all really interesting to read, actually, for a novice garment knitter. And I will show you the better finished object, hopefully, later in the year. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Right, let's get started.